When the plane landed, I walked outside. The Bosnian landscape was gorgeous, unlike anything I'd seen before. Mountains on all sides surrounded us, something you never see in Texas. But I knew this beautiful landscape was a mask for the country's history of wars and genocide. The trip was quite difficult for many of us. You could see the remnants of the genocide everywhere. The first location we visited was quite personal for our guide. It was a tunnel, now known as the Tunnel of Hope, that was used during the war to transport medical equipment, food, the wounded, and unfortunately bodies of those who died. Our guide was severely injured during the war and was carried the 3,150-foot distance to the neutral zone. We were able to walk through the first 20 feet of the tunnel. The height of the tunnel was short, very short. I'm 5'4" and my head almost touched the top. Our guide was well over 6 foot tall. I couldn't imagine the discomfort he went through traveling through this tunnel while injured and having to duck significantly through the majority of it. Once we exited, there was a small house whose owners hid the tunnel entrance in their garage from the Serbian military. The house still stands as part of the museum, but you can see the front steps and sides completely covered in bullet holes. Many of the old buildings in Bosnia have been left like that, either as a reminder of the violence or because they don't have the authority to tear the buildings down. Another difficult trip we went on was to the Bone Hospital. This site was a former hospital that was used to imprison, interrogate, and torture Bosniak civilians. What's left of the hospital still stands today. It's in a secluded, overgrown area that few people know about. It's too dangerous to enter now, but our guide went inside and took a picture of a poster or sign left from the war. Other than that, the only other thing that you could see was graffiti that covered the buildings and flowers. The flowers were located in the basement, where a majority of the tortures and murders took place. There are small vents that allow you to look into the basement from the outside of the building. Luckily, all we saw down there were flowers thrown down by the family members of the victims. I remember one of the first things we did after visiting these sites was going to sit down and have coffee to debrief and discuss what we just witnessed. Some sat there in silence sipping their coffee while others talked with our guide. Everyone processed the horrors differently, but we were united through drinking our coffee. We were told this was similar to how Bosnian Croats and Bosnian Serbs interacted with one another post-war. All have processed and been affected by the conflict differently. But when they meet over coffee, dialogue can happen, which can turn into banter, which can turn into understanding and friendship. Bosnian coffee has identified this new post-colonial and post-war national heritage where despite years of violence and hardship among groups, they can come together regardless of ethnicity as a community through traditional Bosnian, not Turkish, coffee ritual. Some mistakenly identified the Bosnian coffee we were served as Turkish coffee, but they were swiftly corrected by our guides. The process by which they're made is distinctly different. Turkish coffee is made by combining the coffee with sugar and cold water, then boiled. Bosnian coffee is made by boiling the water first and then adding the coffee. They are very proud of their coffee. It's an important part of their culture. Unlike in the US, coffee to go doesn't exist. Rather, coffee is seen as a ritual of time. We would stop for coffee 3 or 4 times a day to sit and enjoy each other's company. The coffee drinking process in itself is also a ritual. It was unlike anything I've seen before. I remember when someone ordered a coffee one morning and the shocked look on their face when it came out on an entire coffee set. A small ceramic cup with an engraved copper dresva plate, a matching sugar container, and a spoon. We all ended up ordering coffee upon seeing this. The drinking process was also quite strange, and to be honest, I saw it as being ridiculously overcomplicated. The steps included 1. Use a spoon to scoop the foam on top of the coffee into the cup. 2. Pour the coffee into the cup, leaving behind the grounds at the bottom. 3. Take a small bite of the sugar cube and hold it under your tongue. 4. Slowly sip the coffee, repeating the 3 steps until the sugar fully dissolves. I remember getting antsy about stopping for too long on our trips to the different cities, being used to the long trips with my family in the US. Everything was on a time constraint, and when we would stop, we had to stick to the schedule. Taking time to eat as a family was not an option on these trips. It was all about getting from point A to point B in a timely manner. The experience made me appreciate slowing down in life to enjoy the moment. Now I always try to sit down and take my time while eating and drinking. I learned to love the Bosnian coffee ritual so much that I ended up buying some coffee in a locally made coffee set before leaving. I'm excited to learn about how to use them, and hopefully I will be able to recreate the experience here.